Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So this is first video of cardiovascular system in which we'll be talking about the basic structure concept of heart and conductive system of hearts. So let's start. So human heart is four chambered, okay? Four chambered. Within four chamber, we know that there are two atrias, okay, and two ventricles. Okay, so let's see. So this is one atria is this one and one is this one. Fine. So this is atria. Which atria actually? Don't be confused inside of atria. So this is left atria. Obviously this is our right side, right? If you see from front. But assume that this heart is basically of a patient lying before you. Then you will not be confused in any time that which side it is you are talking about, right? So this is a human heart of a patient or person before you. So this will be left side of the person, right? So this is left atria and this is right atria. Okay, you will not be confused in any terminology when we talk about side of any body structure, right? So that will be left side, this side. Okay, fine. So atria and ventricles, there are two ventricles, these are ventricles. So this is your left ventricle, okay, and this one is your right ventricle. Fine. Okay, fine. So we know that there are two structures. These are two structures having septum between them. Can you see there is some separation, wall separating these two structures, right? So if there is a wall between two atria, what we'll call it? It will be interatrial septum. So interatrial septum will be separating two atrias. And what is this septum? This is interventricular septum. Okay, fine. So there are some structures, if you can see this one and this one, this is separating this portion from this portion, so atria from ventricle. Okay, so these are nothing but walls. Okay, walls, these are walls. And how these walls are named? If basically if we see these walls, there are some structure like cusp, like this. Okay, now number of cusp will decide which wall it is. So on left side there are two cusps present in the wall. That's why we call it bicuspid. And other name for bicuspid is mitral wall. Okay, so this is your mitral wall. On the other hand, if you see right side, these are the walls. Can you see these structures? These are walls. Okay, these walls are basically having three cusp, like this, three cusp. So this structure is made up of three cusps. So that's why we call them tricuspid wall. Okay, now the point is clear, I feel. Okay, so bicuspid and tricuspid wall. So this is your right atrium, this is your left atrium. Via wall, the atria and ventricles are separated, right ventricle, left ventricle. Okay, fine. So next is what they are getting. So can you see the structure? This, there is one tube here and there is one tube here. These tubes are the vena cava, superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. These vena cavas are taking blood circulation, the venous blood, from head and neck via superior vena cava and from inferior body part from via inferior vena cava. So upper body and lower body, all the venous blood comes to right atrium. From right atrium it goes to the right ventricle. Now you can see there is a blue vessel. You can see here, this is your pulmonary artery. What is that? Pulmonary artery. Okay, this pulmonary artery carry this venous blood to lungs, your lungs, respective sided lungs. Okay, this is pulmonary artery. Fine. Then lungs will purify the blood and these vessels, can you see? So can you see this is artery, pulmonary artery, which is carrying the deoxygenated blood here. This is vice versa thing. And here pulmonary veins, they carry the oxygenated blood. When it get purified in lungs, that purified or oxygenated blood is carried by the veins here. Okay, this is opposite. These pulmonary veins, they carry the oxygenated blood to your left atrium. From left atrium, this opening is guarded by mitral wall, and then the blood comes to left ventricle. Okay, and from left ventricle itself, the blood goes to aorta. So what is this structure? This is your aorta. Aorta. Okay, from here the circulation, the oxygenated blood go to head and neck, and below side if we see this aorta, this part is descending aorta. Descending aorta. Okay, so this is ascending aorta, this is transverse aorta, and below you can see the descending aorta. So the blood is circulated to whole body part, the systemic circulation. Okay, so these are some vessels and these are structure of your heart. Now let's see the circulation again. Okay, so if we see the circulation, let's see first the venous blood which is coming from the body, okay, via superior and inferior vena cava, right? Okay, let's take some other color, black color. Okay, fine. So this blood is coming, this is venous blood, right? So venous blood will come to your, this one is which atrium? Right atrium. Okay, so try to answer some such questions via flowchart. So first of all, systemic circulation. Systemic circulation. Systemic circulation. Fine. This venous blood comes to which? Right atrium. From right atrium it go to right ventricle. From right ventricle it go to lungs. Are you getting me? From right atrium it come to right ventricle. You have written right ventricle. Then from right ventricle it go to lungs via pulmonary artery. You have to mention this. So via pulmonary artery it go to lungs. Respective side lungs. Okay, so this side your lung, right? From lung it will purify and come via pulmonary veins. This is very simple, right? So you have to write pulmonary veins. From pulmonary veins it's coming to left atrium, then left ventricle. It will come to left atrium, then left ventricle. And from left ventricle there is opening of aorta, right? This is aorta. So from aorta to systemic circulation. Left ventricle to aorta and then systemic, your systemic circulation. Okay, are you getting me? Circulation. Fine. So that's how you can perform via making a flow chart. You can perform easily your answers, right? So this is the circulation. And one more thing, these blood vessels, they are also guarded by one wall that is called semilunar wall, because the shape is of a half moon like structure, semilunar. Okay, so they are semilunar wall. So how these walls are guarded, how basically circulation occur, we have seen just the flow of blood via heart. So we'll see in cardiac cycle how these things are managed, basically how systole and diastole occur. So this is a simple video in which we are just talking about the basic concept to understand the CVS properly. Okay, so this is all about circulation. Now we should also know about wall of heart. Okay, if we cut this wall, as you can see, this is your right side, which is very thin as compared to this. This is 3 times of right ventricle wall. Okay, the left wall is thick. Why? Because left side has to push all the blood. It has to pump all the blood to whole body, systemic circulation. That's why who need more force? It's the left ventricle which need the more force, right? Okay, because otherwise right ventricle has to push the blood into lungs only, which are nearby also, right? And left ventricle have to push the blood to whole circulation, but not right ventricle. So it need very less muscular mass, right? And it is 3 times more than the right ventricle. Talking about the structure of the wall, if you can see, the outermost is pericardium. Pericardial layer, right? Pericardium, like other layers of our body, have further 2 layers, parietal pericardium and visceral pericardium. Okay, so parietal obviously away from the organ, outer one, right? And visceral is related touched to viscera, right? So whenever there are parietal and visceral layers, we know that between these two layers there is always a space, right? There is always a space which is always filled with some fluid. We know that, right? So that fluid will be pericardial fluid, right? Pericardial fluid. It's around, some book says 20 to 50 ml or 5 to 30 ml fluid can be there. Okay, so this is your pericardial fluid. Then, so pericardium is a fibrous layer. These parietal and visceral layers, these are made up of fibrous tissue, and having that fluid, because we need for contraction and relaxation, we need that fluid to reduce the friction part, right? Okay, next coming to the myocardium layer. Myocardium. Okay, myocardium is the obviously thickest layer, right? As you can see, this is the thickest layer. So in myocardium itself, this is a cavity of heart right here, right? And if we see, they are basically spirally arranged muscular layers, and in between there are longitudinally arranged muscular layers, then again spirally arranged. So this type of arrangement, how we can get benefit from this arrangement? Because when these contracts, we can see that squeezing of heart can be better because of this arrangement. Okay, so this is myocardium. Next, innermost layer is endocardium. Endocardium, this very thin layer is endocardium, which is having endothelial tissue here, innermost, right? Made up of endothelial tissue. So in endocardium, one more thing we should understand here is, as you can see, the innermost is endocardium. So obviously these walls are also modification of endocardium only, right? Okay, so these walls are also should be described if, for example, you are asked about layers of heart. So these walls are basically part of endocardium. So these walls, for example, talking about one cusp of a wall, okay, these are attached to some structure here, which is a fibrous structure called chorda tendina. Chorda tendina. Chorda tendina, right? Okay. So, this chorda tendina is basically connected with a muscle mass, and these muscles are called papillary muscles. Papillary muscles. Okay, now these muscles are continuous as endocardium. So endocardium is basically having the muscle mass papillary muscles which are connected to chorda tendina structure, which is connected to wall. So basically whenever the contraction of this endocardium occur, the contraction of papillary muscle occur, and because of that the chorda tendina becomes stiff, and because of stiffness of chorda tendina, there is basically wall stiffening occur and closure of wall occur, okay, which prevent the backflow toward the atrium, backflow of blood toward the atrium. Okay, so that's how the wall closure occur, and how it occur, basically the role of chorda tendina and papillary muscle role is there. Okay, so in endocardium you have to explain this part also. Okay, coming to next, which is also very important, that is conductive system of heart. Now in conductive system of heart, you can see this is a heart structure which we have not drawn here deliberately, but we are here talking about only conductive tissue. So what is that conductive tissue? So some muscle are basically specialized in some areas that they can generate its own rhythm, and once the one action potential is generated, they have some property that they can generate the second action potential, and because of this property they are basically able to excite the tissue again, and that is the conductive tissue. Okay, so this specialized tissue, the conductive tissue of heart, will be talking about here. Now it's depending on what rate of the excitability, at what rate basically they can generate the rhythm, that depends which tissue is pacemaker for us. Okay, pacemaker for us. So as you can see in the structure, there are many tissues which can generate their own rhythm. Okay, but everyone, we don't call them pacemaker, right? We call them only SA node, we call it as pacemaker. So basically, highest rate of conduction, whatever tissue can generate, that tissue is called pacemaker. Are you getting me? Okay. So let us now see if conductive system of heart question comes in exam, how you have to perform that. You have to start with this diagram and you have to start labeling that first is the SA node. Then you have to tell that SA node is a specialized tissue located at junction of superior vena cava to your right atrium. So where superior vena cava is ending or connecting to right atrium, at that point the SA node is situated. Okay, so first location you have to tell. Then you have to tell the dimension. So 24 into 2 mm dimension SA node there is, right? It can generate rhythm at it can generate the heart rate of 72 per minute. Okay, so that's all about SA node. Okay, then the second point is your internodal pathways. So as you can see, there are some pathways via which this action potential is basically transmitting to some other tissue, which is your AV node. Okay, so these are called atrioventricular node, this AV node. So these are called your internodal pathways. Since these are situated between two nodes, internodal pathways. And as you can see, one is the anterior pathway, the one is middle, and one is posterior. So you have to tell that these are three type of pathway: anterior, middle, and posterior. Okay, anterior pathway is called your Bachmann pathway. Bachmann. Okay, middle one is called Wank-Bach pathways, and the posterior one is called Thorel pathway. Okay, so these are second name. If you forget, it's okay, you can put anterior, middle, and posterior in place of that, right? Then coming to your AV node. AV node, then you will explain that where it is situated, right? First of all, it is situated, so this is your interatrial septum. Okay, atrial septum. So at lower end of interatrial septum first of all, and near your cusps. Which cusp these are? These are tricuspid wall. So near tricuspid wall and lower end of interatrial septum. This is the location of your AV node. And if you talk about AV node, the dimensions are approximate 20 into 4 mm. Okay, 20 mm into 4 mm are the dimensions, and it can generate rhythm of 40 to 60 per minute. Okay, so one by one you have to label, one by one you just have to analyze, and somehow you have to describe 1 to 2 line about every conductive tissue, right? Then AV node is basically, it continue as bundle of His. Okay, in interventricular septum you can see it divide into left and right branch. This is left, this is right branch. Then they continue downward and supply as Purkinje fiber. Okay, Purkinje fiber are also able to generate around 45 per minute. Okay, so these are some idea about conductive system of heart. One more important thing which you should know, that these Purkinje fiber basically supply the muscle. Okay, so every fibers have different diameters. That's why every fibers have different diameters. That's why we have different conduction speed here. As you can see, SA node have conduction speed of 0.05 meter per second. As you can see, atrial pathways have some highest conduction speed, right? AV node have the same conduction speed of SA node, 0.05. Bundle of His also same as atrial pathways, right? And this thing to be noticed, that Purkinje system have the highest conduction speed. Why? Because these fibers, as you can see, these network like structure, these have the highest diameter, and that's why we have seen that the conduction speed depend on the diameter of nerve fiber. We have seen that, right? So this is the highest. You can get an MCQ based on that highest conducting fibers in heart. Okay, so that's all about conductive system. So for example, if question come to you, you have to just one by one label them. Okay, the fourth is this one, and fifth is this one. So you have to one by one label them, and don't forget this point. Okay, this is very important. So conduction speed to be mentioned, and you can directly get MCQ that highest conducting fiber can be. So you will be confident that yes, Purkinje fibers are the highest conducting fibers. Okay, so this is all about the basic concept of heart. I hope you understood the video. Next video will be talking about the properties of cardiac muscle, which is again very important, in which action potential is the most important. So we'll be talking about in next video. If you have any query, you can comment below. Thanks for watching.